waiting on Simone to join us. Oh, we may have started early. Did I mess this up? Bear with me if anybody sees this. I am double checking. Yeah, we're live. All right. So I started a little early. This is the first time we've experimented with jumping live directly from the feed. So Simone is on standby. I'll hit her up and let her know that we started a little early. But while we wait, what did everybody think? That was pretty creepy trilogy anthology there, right? I love anthologies. I know that we started a little early.
I'm ready.
Okay, cool. Make sure. But while we wait, what did everybody think? That was pretty creepy trilogy anthology there, right? I love anthologies. Check that. I know that we started a little early. So let's see.
I'm ready.
How about now? I know that we started a little early. A little hot on your end, Simone.
I'm ready.
Let's see. Do you have headphones? How about now? Can you hear me, Simone?
I can't quite tell.
I know that we started a little early. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry, Simone. I didn't have a mic on in Zoom. Everybody, please bear with me. Make sure your speakers are turned down a little bit, Simone. I'm getting some feedback on your end, but we'll be all set other than that. You were coming through fine, but I was hearing myself, and of course, I couldn't.
That's because I'm not wearing headphones because I'm not at my house.
Yes, totally understand. So yes, tell everybody what you're doing, and you've graciously, not gracefully, you're always graceful as a director, but you graciously joined us while you're traveling this weekend.
Yes. I am so sorry about this headphone conundrum, but I'm in Maryland at my parents' house because there's a family wedding tomorrow.
Well, it's a good problem to have. You're traveling, so I guess maybe give us a little bit of background on what the hell you were thinking with this trilogy. What was the premise here? I noticed that you made a lot of references to like old school fairy tales with your quotes at the end of each segment.
What we wanted to do, are you familiar with the 1975 made for TV movie Trilogy of Terror starring Karen Black?
It's been a long time. Refresh me.
Well, it's a trilogy, and it's sort of this like super low budget, female centric story that has stars Karen Black, and she plays three different characters and three different stories, and it's the most famous one is the Zulu doll. So we loved that, and my writer is Alexandra Grunberg, and she had the idea to connect bugs to women's stories, and so that was the thread through the three different sort of stories, and that was kind of the impetus behind it. We feel that there's a bit of a gap for women in horror, and we had stories to tell, so we did it.
No, I think that's a good point, because and you didn't typecast the women in these roles. These were all very different, what we're used to seeing in horror. There's tropes, and you've completely flipped that on its head here in this anthology series.
Thank you.
Which is cool. I think it was something different, and I'm a big fan of not always showing the monster, and I think you did a good job of like making it real but not making it in your face.
Thank you. That was I'll take credit for the artfulness of that, but that was also largely due to the fact that this movie was made for less than $15,000. So we we had no money for extra things. So one of the best ways to save money is to not show the monster.
Well, and I think it keeps people honest. It keeps the production honest. Like, you're not wasting your time on a creature shot when you're actually having to build a story and build the suspense around maybe getting a reveal, the glimpse. I mean, that third segment with the sheet, that's just as horrifying as actually showing something. Just a person behind a sheet stretched out is creepy as hell to me.
And there was no special effects whatsoever in that shot. That's a completely practical effect.
Which is so cool. I mean, you'll notice in the comments I called it FX. I didn't say SFX. That was real, people. You can tell the difference. It makes a difference.
So you knew, yeah.
Because I can't pull a shot off like that. I would love to do something like that. I can't. I'm not a director. I don't have the vision. I can't build a shot. I
believe in you, Shelby.
I can run the cameras, but I'm not the man who makes the plan.
Okay, that's fair.
The agender man that makes the plan. I'm just saying in general, like, dudes. The dudes with the plans, those are the people that make it happen. So
Thank you.
Show up. So I noticed, just like creeping around on your filmography and everything, trying to prepare for a review, because Patrick dropped this in my lap last second.
He did.
He's been working hard all week, so I would be remiss to not mention that we are kicking off summer camp. It starts tomorrow. Make sure you've signed up. Simone, you're welcome to join once you can catch up once you're done with your wedding festivities.
I'm already a part of it.
Oh,
so.
Very good. Excellent. So we're going to start tomorrow. That's everybody. Patrick said I had to make sure I mentioned that, or else he'll hit me.
It's very important.
So, yes. So don't forget about that. But let's get back to what we're talking about here, and this is Simone and her work. Like, what else have you been doing? Where was Bugs in your career, would you say?
Bugs was pretty early. It was my first and I guess actual only feature film that we've made. I did a web series that we sort of transitioned into a feature film. But mostly we have a number of shorts and a couple of shorts premiering on Shorts TV in the coming months. But we make shorts and web content that's female driven and tells minority stories in the horror and horror comedy and comedy genres. So what have we been doing? Just working on lots of different scripts and coming up with some ideas that we can actually go ahead and make, sort of like we did with Bugs. So when you're an indie filmmaker, you pitch and you also figure out ways to just keep making movies.
Oh, that's cool. So you've been able to keep this same core that you built the Bugs trilogy with? Is this kind of your production house, your group, your studio? What would you call it?
Yeah.
So
I run
Magic Dog, right?
Magic Dog Productions. Yep, we've been in business since 2016, and we've got a resident writer. Again, is Alexandra Grunberg, and she's just phenomenal. She's a poet and a novelist, and she's published. She's amazing. And we also one of the other people that I really rely on is my composer, Miriam Mayer, and she studied under John Williams, so I'm pretty much the luckiest person that's ever lived because she scored Bugs. And yeah, so I have a sort of small, tight-knit team, and we just like to make movies. We like to tell good stories. We like to get people excited.
Okay, everybody, I think Simone's kind of sandbagging here because she says she just has a small team, which comprises of an in-house writer and a composer who studied under John Williams. That is definitely not your everyday indie production house. That is pretty damn sweet.
Thank you.
I would kill to have an in-house writer. Ollie's gonna kill me. Ollie Jackson is one of our main writers, and Patrick and I try to fill in the gaps, but it's none of our full-time job to write, so we would definitely kill to have somebody as talented as your team helping us
I'm wildly fortunate so I met Alexandra. I went to NYU, and then when I graduated I taught at NYU, sort of in a production capacity, and she was one of my students. So when she and another student approached me and they were like, we want to make this web series. And so ever since then, I just sort of hit the jackpot, and she's been with me. So I don't know how I got so lucky.
Well, I mean, good people and good vibes attract, good outcomes. So I'm a big believer in that. If you're good to people in the industry is good to you. I mean, crappy people are sometimes the loudest in the room and get the attention, but eventually the people that are supposed to be there win, and the people
Right.
that aren't get exposed. So I have faith in that at least.
That's a good philosophy, Shelby.
I choose. That's my Southern upbringing. You know, it's the bless your heart. You know, you'll get your comeuppance. But so I guess you're based. Are you based in New York? Where is your main production centered? Usually,
Yeah,
what's your
I'm
base
yeah,
operation?
I'm New York City based. I'm just north of the city. But I spend a lot of time working in the city, and most of my network is in the city. As much as I know and love people in LA, New York is my network. Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's enough people in New York. You can get what you need done. I hear
Yeah.
it's a little bit bigger than most towns. Uh, so, I mean, I still think the thing that stands out to me the most in this trilogy is like I love anthologies, and I mean, if anybody's watched anything that Patrick and I have done, we're always ranting about how much we love anthologies and are mad that there's not enough anthologies in the world. So I'm gushing on. Thank you for making an anthology. We don't
I'm
get
so
enough.
glad you like anthologies. I totally agree. It really fits with my attention span, which is about 30 minutes. And then I'd really like a news story.
But I mean, you have the overarching element in there. I mean, it was, as you said, it was women's issues. So I guess in the interest of being transparent, I'm trying to remember which. So the very first film, I guess, was centered around what issue were you trying to highlight there? I guess you're the one that made the thing. You tell us what we were supposed to take away from it. I'm not going to interpret. I'm not going to
That's an
mansplain your
extreme.
movie to you, Simone. That's the opposite of what we're doing here.
Thank you so much for not mansplaining my movie.
I don't have
This
anything to
is
put
a
my
question
leg
I
up
can
on.
answer.
I mean, come on. It's not the right situation to mansplain. But
You're good,
yes,
Shelby.
walk us
Thank you.
through the trilogy.
Yes. Okay. So the first one, the thing that really interested me in that topic was what do you do when you're in charge of a violent child?
Hmm.
Like, let's take an extreme example. Your child is a sociopath. Like they have homicidal tendencies. They are violent to other people. Well, you can't just surrender your 10-year-old. What do you do with them? So that was sort of how this was born.
You leave them with your
And
friend.
sorry?
You leave them with your friend. Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, that is one option. If you don't care about your friend or your child. uh, but then we sort of married that idea with the spider and the fly, the fable, which is like the spider is lying and manipulating the and so in the same movie we wanted to marry the concepts. What do you do if you have a violent child? And we should believe children when they say that they've experienced something traumatic. So like, what if these things are against each other? Like, how would we react? Do we do what Diane does and completely reject and dismiss him? Or do we listen to them? And even though they're being violent, they've slapped an adult. Yeah. So that was sort of how that one came about. And as a childless person who intends to stay childless for my entire life, the idea of handling children in general is horrifying. And then the more specific idea that a child could be violent or just completely unmanageable or just creepy.
Well, I think you nailed that. Like that is exactly how that plays out. And I mean, I think that's such a good issue you highlight is like, what do you do with difficult kids? I mean, people struggle with that every day, everywhere. Like different people have different mental issues, and there's actual medical issues as well as physical and mental, and like stressed parents that don't know how to handle it. I mean, and that leads to like abusive situations and neglect and stress and loss of quality of life. That's such a it's crazy. You fit that into a 25-minute vignette without being heavy-handed. That's pretty cool. You made it a horror movie, but it was
Thank you.
with a message. That's so hard to do, I feel like, in that short a time.
Shout out to the Babadook, which also sort of,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
But in our movie, Elliot was scared of her.
Mhm.
That's why he was acting so strange, because he was staying with this spider lady. He wanted to go home to his mom, but his mom is dead because the spider lady killed her and then took the child. So that's where we differ from the Babadook. I think the Babadook situation is much scarier. But anyways,
really is, yeah, that one.
yeah.
And I mean, that always, that's one that I'm always like twisting and turning. I'm like, did she kill the kid? Are they both dead? Like, what's going on? It's like, did she have a complete break? You know, just that whole twist. Not hopefully not a spoiler alert for everybody, but you should have seen it. You need to see it. It's a great movie. It really makes
yes, please see it.
There's so many ways you could take it, and they're all equally horrifying.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, hard to manage kids, trauma, stress. So let's go into the second of the three.
Yes. So the second one is our body horror, and it's largely inspired by a medical illness that my writer deals with, Alexandra Grunberg, who's actually also the actor in each of the segments as well. So she deals with this lifelong chronic issue, and I think we've all experienced sitting on the toilet and feeling really, really sick, like you're gonna die sick. And so imagine that's your life all the time. And one of the things that's hard for women and people of color in particular in this country, and also everybody, but those groups in particular, is getting their medical professionals to really listen to them and to really help them. So I noticed somebody who had written a comment like, the doctor's really not listening to her. That is the thrust of this. Her doctor's an alien who's infected her with a parasite. But it's a comment on healthcare in America and how it's really hard to just get somebody to even listen to you, much less help you. So that's how that one is.
Well, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I was thinking it was maybe when you said everyone had a women's issue, I was thinking maybe eating disorder, but that makes more sense. I was like, I mean, obviously in the context of it, it's not her problem. She can't literally keep anything down because of some medical issue, but the doctor's obviously not helping her. So that's cool. I mean, and the body horror is always a classic, and that's an easy one to do on a budget. That's a very, very good indie concept to lean into.
You're not wrong about the eating disorder. In a number of times, like in other times that I've screened this film at festivals and whatnot, I've gotten that question a lot. So that was the inspiration behind it, but it's about health and the inability to get the care you're looking for, and that eating disorders fall squarely into that category.
Yeah, it's another chronic. I mean, it was obviously a chronic, untreated, not getting the help you need. And I mean, that honestly, that in itself is a horror movie that many people live. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's horror inside of horror inside of horror, which makes it even more fun as an anthology. It's like, damn, which layer am I supposed to be scared of? Because they're all scary. So that's cool.
Thank you.
And I think my favorite shot in that one was it was a tie between realizing that was a tooth that came out of her body.
It was a snake tooth.
or like the phone getting washed in the blood on the floor. That was a cool shot. I really appreciated that. That was neat.
Thank you.
So I'm sure that was fun to clean up after the fact.
All that blood was VFX.
Yeah. Oh, was it?
Absolutely. The practical blood that we tried to use just didn't flow. It didn't flow. It didn't go far enough.
But it looked good. It didn't look like, so that was well done. Like the low light really leaned into that. So that was perfect. It's like, oh man, that's a great shot. How the hell they pull that off of real blood? Because I just imagine it going underneath that threshold of the door, and it's getting in the wood, and then like the phone is like covered in it, so it doesn't.
That was my apartment, so I'm really glad that we didn't use real big blood.
Lost the rental deposit from my independent film. So
not get my security deposit back because there's blood everywhere.
Well, you weren't getting it back anyway. I mean, come on, landlords these days, especially in New York. Come on, you're not getting your security deposit back. You're going to have to fight them in court for months for that.
You're not wrong.
So yeah, I've got some buddies that live up there, and it's like that's a nightmare. All right, so body horror. Healthcare issues. That's our second chunk. So bring us to the third one, which I'm guessing has to do a lot with gaslighting. Was the gist I got?
Yes. So that hugely about gaslighting. But what this third part was inspired by was an op-ed I read many years ago by a young woman who'd been assaulted by her dad. She was sexually assaulted repeatedly as she was growing up, and she reported this assault to her mother. And her mother said to her, quote, "Why would he do this to you? He has me." That was her mother's response. So this entire piece is born of the singular terror of reporting a trauma to a person who's supposed to care for you and protect you, and having them not only not believe you, but then sort of accuse you of being a malicious liar, like a disruptor, like somebody who's trying to meddle in her relationship. So yes, gaslighting, but in regards to sexual trauma within the family unit. So that's really what that one was about.
And of course, I've mentioned my favorite shot in that was the monster in the bedroom, which I guess that has a very inherent sexual connotation in its own right. You have somebody in your bed that's not welcome there, right?
Exactly. So that's why we picked bed bugs as the corresponding bug, because
bed bugs are horrifying.
They're horrifying, and they also like attack you in the night in your private, most special, like your sanctuary, in your bed, in your house, and they leave marks on you. And people often aren't believed when they think they have bed bugs. And also, the way that bed bugs mate is called traumatic insemination. The female ultimately dies. So there's like a lot of levels to the bed bug being horrible and horrifying, and working really well for that.
Yeah, and now that I think about it too, is like the kind of the, what would you say, like the social stigma. People, it's kind of like lice. Like people think that inherently, if you get bed bugs, that's like a poor person's affliction. It's like it means you don't have, you're not clean, like you're dirty. Like when anybody can pick them up, they're insidious. But that could play into that as well.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, bed bugs suck, people.
And bed bugs don't discriminate. Yeah, they're not like, what's your socioeconomic status? Are you poor? Are you rich? Like, they're just like, I'm going to suck your blood.
Well, the number one tip to not get bed bugs is don't put your soft bags on hotel beds, people, or Airbnbs, wherever you're staying. Don't put your suitcases on the beds or any of the furniture. Put it on a hard surface like a kitchen table. That way you don't pick them up somewhere.
I hope everybody's writing this down.
Write it down. You didn't think you were going to learn something tonight. Simone's putting on a clinic, so.
That was your advice, Shelby.
Well, I mean, you led me to that point. This was ultimately a PSA about bed bugs.
It was teamwork. Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, so I guess I'll open it up. If anybody in the audience tonight, you have any questions for Simone, this is your chance. We got to let her get back to her weekend. She's got a long day tomorrow, so we'll keep the floor open for about 5 more minutes or so. And I want Simone to have a chance to talk about any of her future or current projects that she wants to get out there as well. So no pressure, but I need to see some good questions in here. Don't disappoint us. I know you're out there. I see 21 are on right now. I know 70 of you are watching at one point. And you're gonna regret this when you watch it on replay, and you're like, damn, I had a question. I was like, nope, this is your chance.
This is some seriously good improv we've got going, Shelby.
I have to do what I can. The show must go on. Okay, so Eric, in our comment section, and you may be able to see this too if you have it open, he asked, what is the most challenging part of making this film for you outside of budgetary constraints?
That's a good question. Thank you, Eric. I would say the topics, the content, the kind of content that we were making. So I'll give a very specific example. So when in the final scene before there's the sheet man, she's sleeping and she's sort of slapping her legs. And my DP, my director of photography, was like, "Can we clear the room? I have to ask you a question." And I was like, "Okay." But I have a very loud voice, so everybody on set totally heard my answer. But his question was, "Are you aware that this slapping sound sounds like a man masturbating?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm aware of that." Like, and you being horrified enough to clear the room and ask me about it is sort of specifically the thing that we're doing here. So I'm very sorry that I've alarmed you with that, but like, yes. So that kind of like, when I'm making people uncomfortable on set with a simple sound, it's just a sound of a person's touching their own skin. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, okay, so this is a sensitive topic. How many other people around here are triggered? What does this mean when we ultimately see it on camera? So there was a lot of moments like that where I was like, is everybody good? Am I good? Like, so that was the hardest part about making, is that it felt like it was important to do it right and to honor what we were doing and the material that we were working on.
That makes it's visceral. That's a word you could use to describe it. Everything about this, every single layer, you could close your eyes and this movie creeps you the hell out. I mean,
Right. I think, was it you that would write in the first third was like, the music isn't helping, and I was like,
yeah, it's like no, discordant sound. This doesn't have a happy ending. I know where this is going. It's Kings of Horror. We don't have happy endings here. But,
nah.
So I've got a couple similar questions here. Is how long did this take from start to finish?
Yeah.
I guess so. You secured your fund. Did you secure funding before you started, or was this something you did and just made happen? How'd that work?
That's a great question. So the first third that I shot was Parasite, the middle part, the body horror part, and I shot that in my apartment where I was living in Queens. And so we had decided to do a crowdfunding campaign, but I'm not a fan of crowdfunding campaigns that have nothing to show for it. They're just like, hello, could I please have your money? I want to see something. Show me what you got going. So we figured we'd shoot a third of it. So we shot the third of it, and it was just self-funded. And then we did a crowdfunding campaign, and we raised about $12,000, and we shot the other two. And so that's how we funded it. And so that's how we got the 15K total to make it. And it took about 3 years to finish, because I had graduated from NYU as an actor. And so I was making my way as a filmmaker. And so I had to work and make money and also make the film. So yeah, it took about 3 years. And I have to say that actually the hardest part about making the entire film for me personally was the 1 minute segment of the spider footage, because I don't do spiders. I don't do spiders. So in the past, I've edited a feature film in less than a month and a half. It took me 6 months to edit that 1 minute segment of the spiders, because I had repeated panic attacks every time I sat down to go through all the footage. So that delayed it a little bit, yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of answers. We had another question. It's like, well, were there any difficulties in filming it? And there you go. It's the damn spiders.
It was the spiders. I also saw before in the chat, people were saying they thought that Pepto-Bismol should have sponsored the film. And I wish I thought of that. I actually didn't. I approached Raid and Hotshot for the first segment, asking them if they wanted to sponsor me. And they were like, hey, it sounds great. Like, your movie sounds wonderful, but we can't have our product be shown in any way to be used against humans. And like, he's using it to protect himself from the woman. And so they were like, because our product is used as a weapon against the spider lady, you can't use it. But I didn't think of Pepto-Bismol.
Well, you've got, that's future product tie-in. I mean, everybody, there's so many ways you can take a poop joke, right? So
it's pretty endless, actually.
It is a timeless medium, pun intended. So let's see. We got a question about. So you said the middle segment, which was the first chronologically filmed, that occurred in your apartment. What about the other two? Where were they filmed? Were they in a studio, on location? How'd you do that?
The last segment, the third segment, was shot in Alexandra's apartment in Queens, the one that's very pink. And the first segment, we rented an Airbnb, and we made sure that the contract did not dictate that we could not shoot a movie there.
As long as you don't tear down any structure, like low.
No, we didn't. Yeah, we left it cleaner and better than when we found it. And sometimes film crews really screw up things for the rest of us, so we made sure not to do that. But yeah, that first apartment was just so cool. How long it was, and the kitchen, like, I just liked everything about that apartment.
Yeah, the hallway was super creepy, and
yes.
I liked. It seemed like one of those hallways that already had a lack of appropriate illumination, so you didn't have to do much work to make it that dark.
100%. Yeah, there was no lights to turn off. We just lit it.
There's one light at the very far end, and there's a lot of hallway, and it's like, really, who the hell designed this?
We're gonna Dutch that for sure.
And there's no outlets to put, like, a hallway lamp on the other end. It's just a hall. There's
so many extension cords.
Bizarre. The stuff they did pre-electricity is amazing. So, let me see. If there's anything else in here. Everybody loved it. So, lots of love.
I just want to shout out to Andy. I hope you find your spider.
Find your spider, Andy. Find your spider.
I'm gonna have trouble sleeping because you have a spider on the loose.
Oh, that's right. He literally. Oh, good. Yeah, Andy, you probably need to hop off and take care of that. Because I mean, if you don't take care of it now, you're going to swallow it in your sleep. That's how that happens.
I think that's an urban myth, Shelby.
Oh, I'm making it. I'm making it a truth now. He has a spider confirmed to loose, and if he doesn't find it, he 100% ate it in his sleep. So.
You're probably right.
Well, okay. So now we're in the shill your shit segment. I like to call it the triple S. Shill your shit with Shelby, quadruple S. So what do you got going on? And shill your shit with Shelby and Simone. There we go, quintuple S. What do you got going on? What do you want to highlight?
Normally I would talk about another film that I have, but I think it's going to be premiering on Kings of Horror later. So
we can't talk about it then.
I won't. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
You should know to come back and stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, we're Magic Dog Productions, Magic Dog Movies on Twitter, and we've got 2 short films coming out on Shorts TV, which is an app that features shorts, obviously.
I've never heard of that. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But otherwise, we've got a couple movies a couple micro shorts that are being finished. They're in post-production. We got a couple films that are in festivals, but really, I guess the best place to track our stuff is on socials, and a movie coming on Kings of Horror, which shall not be named at this time.
The movie which must not be named.
It's a horror comedy.
I'm excited. When you said horror comedy, I'm like, okay, all right, because this was definitely not comedic in any way, shape, or form. Maybe the first time when they're digging through the poop, I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's like, it's horrifying. You shouldn't have to do that.
If you're not laughing, then you're not appreciating the poop for its poopness.
If you're not laughing, then you're crying. That's my view. You got to find the humor in everything, because damn, the world is a depressing place, people. So try to find your light. And on that note, again, I'll remind everybody, summer camp starts tomorrow. Opening ceremonies launches at 10 Eastern. Your time zone may vary, 7 Pacific. Hawaii would be 4 o'clock in the morning. So check that out. Make sure you follow Simone and Magic Dog Productions. And of course, stay tuned to the channel. Lots of cool stuff. And if there's anything else, we can call it a wrap here, everybody, because I have a lot of summer camp work to do.
Everybody join the summer camp. It's going to be sweet.
And thank you, Simone, for taking time out of your traveling weekend. At least, I'm glad you're at least staying at your parents', so at least you're like a comfortable place with decent
Oh my
Wi-Fi.
gosh, yeah.
So
it's wonderful.
good.
It's a family wedding. So like
Perfect.
I've spent time with my nephew today. Like it's great.
I was afraid when you said you were traveling. I was like, oh my God. It's like, don't feel like you have to call me from like an Uber in the middle of nowhere, like on your cell phone. It's like, we can reschedule it to another time.
No. Yeah,
Good.
I would have been like, Patrick,
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you can yell at Patrick. He can yell at him.
I would if need be, but Patrick is so wonderful and good. Why would I yell at him?
I hate being friends with him for 25 years. He's the most disgusting person. He's just the most wonderful person you could ever have as a friend. So,
I only have good things to say about Patrick.
Yes.
Hi, Patrick. I love you.
But thank you, Simone, first and foremost, and thank you everybody for showing up, because we wouldn't have anybody to rant to if it wasn't for you. So
thank you for watching.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you bright and early, campers. And Simone, get to that wedding on time, and then come to camp.
I will.